I'm Bet from Bet's Makes, and we're going to make a card decal. Now you can use it on a card, or if you do it in vinyl, you can also do it for the back of your car. So this is a lot of fun. One is called Baby on Board, and all you're going to do is cut it out of some vinyl. So I just have a piece of vinyl here. This has actually been cut ahead of time. You can't quite see the pattern, but I used a neutral color. And this is a permanent vinyl that I'm going to use because if I decide to put it outside rather than on a greeting card, I will be able to use it. Now you can also use the same vinyl for your greeting card if that's what you decide you want to do. So there's not a lot to it, but you do need my template from betsmakes.com in order to make this project, plus some vinyl and a cutting blade. So that's all you're going to need, including your Cricut machine. So let's move over to Design Space and let's start working on this one. All right, here we are in Design Space, and we're going to be putting together our card decal, and it's called Baby on Board. So I'm going to start by just going to hide the text that I no longer want. We're going to go over to Upload, and we're going to upload our image. And the image this time is going to be called Baby on Board. So find that file in the downloads and then upload it. You'll have to unzip it and then upload the SVG file called Baby on Board. I'm just going to click on it and I'm going to insert that image. Now there's quite a bit going on here with these because we're going to cut it out on some special decal paper that's going to fit on the window of a car. Now these are Baby on Board. Right now they're all set to black, so let's make them a nice color. I'll make it a nice neutral orange color. You can make it any color you want. When you cut out the decal, you can probably have it all in white. I want to ungroup these because basically what we want to do is just take each piece like this and we want to attach it, and then you have to decide which one you want to keep and which one you want to cut. I'm just going to highlight that one and attach it, and I'll just move this up a bit so we can see all of this, and I'm going to take this one and I am going to attach it. So now we have 3 different decals. You can cut out all 3, or you can simply just cut out one. You want to make sure that you have the type of vinyl that's going on, that you don't have to do a mirror with this. If you're cutting directly on that using transfer paper to put it onto the car, no problem. Some of the vinyls you're going to use, you may have to mirror it if you are cutting on the back side. For this case, we're simply just going to cut it into a vinyl. And that is it, and that's all we actually have to do in Design Space, except I'm going to save this. This is part of my June makes, so I'm just going to call this Baby on Board. I'm going to save it. And we're going to come over here and we are going to make it next. And just selecting the material, notice that each one of these is going to be about 6 inches by 7 inches. So, you know, they're fairly big. People will be able to read it. I've got all 3 of them selected here. And you can cut out 1, you can cut out 3, doesn't matter which one you want to choose. I'm just going to cut out this center one for myself, but what I do for selecting the material is the more important part here. And let's go ahead and select our material. This is not a complicated one. Basically, you're taking the SVGs and you are making a decal with it. Now, with these SVGs, you can also make a t-shirt with Baby on Board for the mother. So we have to decide what kind of vinyl we're going to do. So I'm going to browse all materials here and let's see what kind of vinyl that we are permitted to use here. I'm just typing in vinyl and I'm going to do a search. We have adhesive foil, metallic, non-adhesive, premium vinyls, and we have a premium frosted opaque or a frosted gray. Depends on the color that you want to go on to the vehicle. I am just going to pick a simple one. I have a beige colored one that I am going to use, and it is a premium vinyl, so I'm simply going to select premium vinyl. and click on done. And all I have to do now is cut it out, and then we'll be ready to put it together. So choose the type of material you want. Remember, premium vinyl, once it's permanently on there, will not come off in the rain or the snow or scraping. You will have to scrape it right off when you are ready to scrape it off. So make sure you have the type of material you want to use. You could actually use a window cling as well. Just remember, you want it to stay in place for a certain period of time, a couple of years if there is a baby on board. Okay, so let's cut these out, and then I will see you over at the demo table. So now that we have cut out our decal, remember that you can use this decal on the back of a car if you wish. For now, I'm just going to use this as a design that would potentially go on a card. So that's why I called it a card decal. So the first thing we're going to do is we need to take out some tools here, and I am looking for a weeding tool, and this is my weeding tool. This is a Cricut weeding tool I'm going to use. It has a little crooked edge, and that's so that I can see the pieces and parts. Now sometimes it's a little hard to see, but the first thing you want to do is you want to get rid of the negative parts here for your decal. And we're going to use a little bit of transfer paper as well. So I'm going to try and poke this around so that I get rid of all the extra little pieces. Here we go. Now weeding is not everybody's forte. Some people really don't like to do this, but once you get it started, it's actually not that bad. You just have to make sure you don't pull off the wrong pieces. So I'm just going to cut it up. So take a little bit to get rid of the extra pieces that you don't want to have. This, I'm taking off what you call the negative parts, and there's always extra little pieces. I just stick them to myself to get rid of them that way. And we're getting rid of the baby part. So this is baby on board that we've made. Now you can make it larger or smaller depending on the uses for you. So it's just a matter of pulling it apart now. Always messing up a little bit here. I can see it. There we go. I can always pull on the bigger pieces. That's why I have a pair of scissors here. Sometimes I just want to cut it so it's out of the way. There we go. This might take a little bit to take this apart. Let me just speed this part up a little bit. There we are. Let's just move the scrap out of the way. Now what we want to do is I'm going to take this and I'm going to put it on top of this, and this is craft board that I have below, so you'll see the baby on board. I could probably have picked a brighter color so you could see it a little easier. Let me just go get another piece of paper, and then I'll get the transfer paper, and then we'll start pushing this onto that paper with a transfer paper. So what I've done here is I've taken a different color of cardstock. This is a pretty thick cardstock that I'm going to put it on so you'll be able to see what we're going to do here. Now the important part here is, whether it goes on any surface, is that you need some transfer paper so that you can transfer this onto the transfer paper and then apply it onto another surface. So I've cut a piece of transfer paper. Now Cricut sells these in rolls. This is a Cricut transfer paper. You can use any kind of transfer paper that you want. So what we want to do is peel the backing off this and apply it to that surface. So now I just have to find a corner again where I'm going to be able to take this apart. It's a little hard to get it off of there. Move these out of the way. Don't use my little weeding tool here so I can pick up an edge. I've got an edge here. And I do. And you're going to see that this is a clear color. And it's just a transfer paper, and mine seems to be ripping, but it doesn't make any difference. Try and pull this together. Okay, do it this way. I'm just taking it off the backing, and I know I've got a rip in it, but that shouldn't make any difference. I'm going to save that because I'm going to save this for later. The more difficult part, so I just move my paper out of the way, is to get it over the top so that you're covering everything, and you just gently place it down. And as you can see, the transfer paper is over top of the design, and that makes it really easy. So now what we can do is I have my scraper tool. I'm just going to flatten it in there so that it picks up all the pieces of my design. The idea behind this is I want to be able to, let's put this back in here, just move those out of the way a little bit. What I want to do now is take this transfer paper off so that this backing comes off. And generally, you're going to be able to peel it this way, but you want to make sure the design stays on the transfer paper. Now you see I have a little piece that has come up from here. So what I usually do is I come back and I just smush it back into place so it stays. There we are. And I'm just peeling it very gently. And this, when I'm peeling it backwards like this, I can see whether something is sticking or not, or I have to replace it. Now, as you can see, I have another piece right here that has an issue. So I'm just going to come back here. Make sure it's pushed down properly, and I see it still wants to come up, so I'm just going to give it a gentle nudge here and hold it. There we go. And I just don't want to pull too fast because I want to make sure everything is in place. And it looks like we have the whole thing on our transfer paper right now. And I don't want to push it on anything, but you can see where it's on the transfer paper. So what you want to do now is decide how you want to put this on a surface. Now there's a couple of little tricks that you can use, and quite often I will just use a piece of the regular paper that came with the transfer paper and just hold it down so that when I put something in place, that I will be able to then pick it up if it's not in the right spot. Now that looks pretty good, and it's easy just to pull it off the backing. So if I think that is in the right place, I can put it down. Or if I decide, oh, I need to move it a little bit, I can do so. And I can just add it a little bit at a time. Now, the biggest advantage of doing it this way is you eliminate the fact that you will have bubbles in your design because you're pulling this a little piece at a time and you're pushing it down exactly where you want it. I can see I have a little bit of an issue here. Just push it over. There we go. Now, because I still have this underneath, I can just pull it down a little bit at a time and push it on, and that way I'm not trying to adhere the whole surface at the same time. I'm just going to pull it down a little bit more, get those wheels going. And then I'll take that final piece off of here. I've got the on board. I will remove that paper. You could use parchment paper for the same thing I did. I did a video on parchment paper not too long ago. So this is applying it to a surface. Now, this could be a window, it could be some cardboard, it could be anything you want. So now that you have it in place, the last piece is to pull up the transfer paper, and it won't hurt your paper unless it's a particular kind of paper. So as you can see, I am just going to pull it up, and you'll see sometimes it just doesn't quite stick the way you thought, but you can get your fingers in behind and pull those up. You see my bead didn't want to stick right down right away. You can use your, I just use my fingertips just to make sure things stay in place and not worry. You don't have to worry about the transfer paper per se. You see some things are just coming up a little bit. That means I just have to push them down a little more, and I will push them down again. Now I'm having a little trouble here with these, so what I'm going to do is I have a smaller scraper here. Where is it? It's right here. I'm just going to use my smaller scraper, get it in there and make sure they push down, but you want them to adhere to the surface. You don't want them left on the transfer paper. Now we do have some problem here as well. And this will happen no matter what surface you work with. And we have some more here. There we go, got it. Now we have our wheel is coming up here. So same thing, just want to go in there, push it down. The whole idea of the transfer paper is so that you don't have to worry about the layout of anything and trying to figure out how to put the letters together. It's a little tough to pull in places, but we'll get there. And you don't want to pull too hard. You see how we got this piece? If I had pulled too hard, I probably would have ripped the other place. So you really have to keep an eye on it at all times. There we go. Oh, I pulled too hard. I'm going to lose this part of it. Okay, that's one piece of my paper. I'm just going to stick it back over here. Sometimes I like to reuse my transfer paper. This piece I had, I'm sorry, I had pulled too hard. So you have to be really careful with what you do. Now that's not going to come off that piece, but I'm going to try and pull it from this end. There we go. Generally, the transfer paper won't affect your surface. And I can just color this back in. Now, how are we doing here? Gently, gently. Most people won't try this on cardstock. Let's see, that one just came like that. There we go. Gently. Okay. Now I'm just going to put this aside. So what I would do next is I actually push it down even more once it's back on the surface, just to make sure it is adhering. Now this would be a good card. You could put it in the window of your vehicle and just tape it in and have it in place. But there we are, other than my little boo-boo here. That is your car or card decal that you can use on any surface that you wish. And this one is Baby on Board. So I hope you really enjoyed this craft. And until next time, happy crafting.